Hello, welcome to this video on Reason. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Europa shape-shifting synthesizer. Now this synth has been around for quite some time, since version 10 of Reason, but it is still a very powerful and useful synthesizer. Not only can it do additive and subtractive synthesis, but it is a wavetable synth, and it also has a spectral filter, so it can do a little bit of grain manipulation using this filter here as well. The song you can hear in the background is one I created from these 4 Europa synths. There's one here which has a pad, this one here has a stab, this one here is a bass, and this one is the lead sound. Together with these synths, I'm just using the drum sequencer and the rhythmic drum machine on the legacy kit. So let's get into how these sounds were created. I'm going to start with the mellow pad, and we shall take a look at that. So I'm just going to solo this one here and make sure it's selected here. So this is the pad sound on its own. So if we go to the first engine, we have 3 engines here, and this one is on. It's just on the middle octave, octave 2, and there's no tuning or semitone tuning on it. The shape is all the way down to 0, and it is a saw triangle. If I click on this amount, we can see we have 9.4% of this faded sync modifier 1 on it. If I move this all the way down to 0, then you can see our basic saw triangle shape. This shape can also be modified here. But in this case, I've just used a little bit of this 9.4 to modify this wavetable here. We don't have any of the spectral filter or modifier 2 or harmonics on this sound. I do have the unison on to give it a little more depth, and we have the count set at 4, the blend at 100%, the detune is at 12 o'clock, and the spread is at almost 86% here. So that is engine 1. Next we have engine 2. That again is on a saw triangle, and this time I have left it on the basic triangle shape, same octave, no modifiers this time, no spectral filter or harmonics. And again we have unison, we have a count of 4 again, 100% blend, detune at 50%, and spread is at 79%. So we just have these 2 engines. I'm running them both at about the same level. One is panned full left, one is panned hard right, and they're both going into the filter. The drive is set to 18% here. I don't have any resonance on, and the filter is at 1.38 kilohertz. That is all it's on there, and it's the ladder LP 24 dBs. Next we go into the amp, and the amp envelope we have the attack is a fast attack, and we have a little bit of decay, sustain and release if you wanted. So it's a fairly short pad. If you wanted it to be a longer sustain on the pad, you can just increase the sustain. If you want a long pad like that, I just wanted a shorter pad, and then just a quick release on it. Master volume currently is at 8.8 dBs, and it's on 8 voices. We can go to 16 voices if we want. So that is the pad sound. I don't have anything going on in the matrix here, in the mod matrix. The only other thing I have on this pad is the distortion is on here. If I click on distortion here, you can see the settings. It's on screen. The drive is at 60, almost 66%. Same with the tone. And then the amount is just 26, almost 27%. So that is the pad. And it sounds like this in the track. So here we have the bright stab. That sounds like this. So in voice 1, engine 1, we're just an octave 2, and we're using the basic analog, which starts with a sine wave, and then this is almost at 55%. I'm using both modifiers here, and this one is on mirror, this one is on downsample. Mirror's at 45.3, and the downsample amount is 46.9. I don't have the spectral filter or harmonics on this one. I do have some unison. My count is at 6, blend is 87.5, detune at 50, and spread is almost 78%. I have the second engine here. It's on a pulse width wave, and I've modified its shape up to 83% almost. And then I have the two modifiers. I have phase distortion on this one and faded sync on this one. The amount of this is 51.6%, and this one is 25%. I'm also using LFO1 to create some movement on this engine, and that is right here. And we're just on a sine wave, and it's at 1.583 hertz. I'm not using beat sync on it. And the unison on this, we have a voice count of 3, 100% blend, 50% on the detune, and 90% on the spread there. So I'm just using the two engines again. They're both going through the filter. They're panned both at 50%, so in the center. And I have the frequency set quite high, 12.17 kilohertz. And then that is also the ladder 24 dB low pass. And then we're going into the amp envelope attacks fairly quick to give us a stab. Decay is fairly fast. Sustain, there's a little bit of sustain on there. And release is really fast as well. I have the master volume set at 8.8 dBs right now, and 8 voices on this sound. I have envelope 3, but it's not doing anything in the mod matrix, so basically nothing happening here. The only other thing that is on is the distortion here, which is on, and if I click here, we're on distortion. Our drive is at 18.8%. Tone is quite high at 97, and the amount is 62.5. So that's that sound, and in the track, so there we have the two keyboard pad and stab sounds. Next up is our bass sound here. And the bass sound, I'm just going to solo it. The bass sound sounds like this. So it has a fairly quick release, not a long sustain on it, and a slight delay on it, decay I should say. So in this one we're also using two of the engines again. I started with the basic analog sine wave, and I've moved the shape up to 29.7%. I have phase sync on, and the octave on this one is down to octave 1 on this engine. I have modifier 1 on invert, and that is set to 32.8%. None of these two are on. I have unison. The unison count is 5, 100%, 50% on the detune, and the spread is 95%. Then both engines are going through the filter. Second engine is also down on octave 1. The shape was a saw triangle, and I've modified it to 31.2%. I also have LFO 1 affecting this one. It's 14%. LFO 1 is running this waveform right here. I'm on beat sync at 1/8, and just a very slight delay before the envelope, the LFO, takes effect on the signal. So that's just going to move this. You can see it moving just a little bit here. I have modifier 1 on fold. It's at 26.6%. Then I have the spectral filter on. Envelope 4 is affecting that, and this is envelope 4 here. It's on loop with this shape here, and it's at 1.563 Hertz. And the frequency is set to 54.7, and the resonance is 32.8. Just gives it a little bit of high top end kind of air sound. No unison on this engine. I may have missed the first engine, but I do have unison on the first engine, and the count is 5, blend is 100, detune is 50, spread is 95. If I turn engine 2 off, you can hear engine 1 on its own, and then vice versa. So both engines are going into the filter. Engine 2 is just slightly less. It's at 8.3 dBs. Engine 1 is 9.8. They're both panned in the middle. And there's a little bit of drive at 13.8% and no resonance. Filter is at 4.72 kilohertz. And we're using, again, the ladder, 24 dBs. And then in the amp, the attack is set to 5 milliseconds. Decay 2.32 seconds, sustain 19.3, and release 24. So quite a fast release. I didn't want the bass notes to linger too long. The master volume is at 9.9, and I've turned it to one voice here since it's a bass sound. Key mode is on poly, which doesn't really matter. I could probably put it on retrigger. I have portamento on. The time is 32.8% on it. So it's just very slight. You can't really notice it. If I switch it to retrigger here, you don't really notice any difference. So that is that. I don't have anything in the mod matrix on for this one. I have distortion on here. It's on tube. The drive is at 73.4%, the tone 65.9, and the distortion amount is at 54.7. I also have this compressor on here. Attack is 6.1. Threshold is minus 21 dBs. Release is 505 milliseconds, and the ratio is 4:1. So that is our bass sound, and in the track it sounds like this. You can hear the portamento a bit more in the track. And last up is my lead sound here. And that is sounding like this. So as you can hear, there's a fair bit of portamento on that sound. And let's see, I have two engines again on this one. The first engine is on the second octave. It's on the electromechanical wave form, and it's modified to 71.9%. I also have LFO1 at 42.2%, and LFO1 is just running a sine wave at 1.583 hertz, and that is just giving some movement to that waveform here. I have modifier 1 on fold. I don't really have it on at the moment, so it's probably not doing anything to that one at the moment. I think I was experimenting with it. No spectral filter, no harmonics. I do have unison on. The count is set to 4. Blend is 54.7. Detune is 26.6. And spread is 24.7 on that one. In the second engine, I also have that on octave 2, and that was the basic analog, which gives you a sine wave to begin with. The shape is 62.5%, and no modifiers. I have the spectral filter on, parametric EQ. I've bumped up the frequency to 82.8 and the resonance to 71.9. I just wanted to boost the high end a little bit here, so that's what that is doing. And then again we have the unison on. The count is 3, blend 92.2, detune is 42.2, and the spread is 96.6. So that's those two engines, and they are both again running into the filter. Engine 1 is at 13.1 dBs, and engine 2 is 9.8 dBs for level. They're both panned center. A little bit of drive, 15.3%, no resonance. Frequency 7.57 kilohertz. Again, it's the ladder 24 dB, low pass. And they're going into the amp. The attack is 5 milliseconds, decay 1.16 seconds, sustain 62.9%, and release is 40 milliseconds. And the master is 8.2 decibels, and I've set this to one voice since it's a lead sound. I don't think I have the envelopes or LFOs. I just have the LFO on this one here, so that's all I have the LFOs doing at the moment. So I have this one on re-trigger for key mode. Portamento is on. The time is set to 42.2%. Envelope 1, I'm not using at the moment, so we don't need to worry about that. And we're not using the matrix, and the only other things I have on are distortion, which is set on distortion. Drive is 68.8, tone is 83.1, and distortion amount is 92.2. I also have delay on. It's on sync. The time is 3/16. Ping pong is on. Pan is at 20%. Feedback at 30%, and the delay amount is almost 32%. I have a reverb on here as well. The decay is at 50%. Size is 70. Reverb damping is 30%, and the reverb amount is 52.2%. So that is the lead sound. So altogether, in my little 17-bar loop here, that sounds like this. So if you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe to the channel for more like this. Thanks for watching.